Alright, how you going, guys? Just out taking some photographs of some of my craft here. I just wanted to do a show and tell type video. I'll show you a few things, but in particular I wanted to show you the Sporran style pouch, okay? It's probably what I'm best well known for, and kind of like this kind of world, the kind of bushcrafty craft world and all that kind of stuff. It's a very interesting design. It's based on a historical design. It's a very, very personal thing to me because it reflects a lot of different aspects of my personality. I'm really interested in Scottish history, being a Scot, interested in how people lived their lives in the past, and what I've really done is a modern bushcraft interpretation of something that's really an old piece of gear, really. I've made, I don't know exactly how many, I've never really kept count, but it must be over 100 by now, of these pouches in various different styles. I've made them for a lot of different guys. Don't want to name drop, but yeah, Guy Woods, who's following Bushcraft USA, made one for Sean the Silver Fox. Who else? Last guy was a local guy called Checkmate. Blake Muir, who's the Bushcraft Oz guy. Who else? A lot of different. Rob from the canteen shop, I sent him one. So I've made a lot of these. Got pretty good making them, obviously. I'll take you through it. I'll show you. It's a very interesting design. Don't look at this video as hard sell, hard sell, hard sell. I don't really want to do this on this channel. It's just part of me, part of my bushcraft, part of what I do. Don't want to talk about it and show you guys. Alright, but it's a little bit from the hip, this one, but bear with it, bear with me, okay? Okay, so here's some of my craft work here. Alright, it's a few different things. As you can tell, I've been working mainly with this calf skin at the moment. Alright, it's really nice, has a really nice kind of like distressed feel to it. Okay, you know, leather's not meant to be perfect. It has imperfections in it, you know what I mean? That's part of the character of leather, alright? So this is a Sami style coffee pouch, okay? These are great little, you know, pouches to carry, you know, flour, bannock, you know. Great tinder kits as well. Very nice, soft, subtle leather. I use a lot of different types of leather with my craft work, yeah. You know what I mean? I love working with kangaroo, buckskin. I love buckskin, but it's rather expensive. So it's just a question of what I can beg, borrow or steal. I'm quite fussy when it comes to materials. There's a lot of really sort of cheap and nasty leather out there that I don't really want to use. But yeah, this is another kind of like a little belt pouch. I just kind of made, made up the design. A little bit more square shaped, make a nice little fire kit. Okay, but what I'm probably best known for is the kind of sporran design, alright? So if you go down here, I'll show you the sporran. Okay, it's not sporran, as some Americans say, okay? Alright, so I'm probably best, I've been making these for a number of years, like I've said. I've made them for a lot of people and a lot of places and different places in the world, like I said. But really it all goes back, for this one it goes back to, you know, I used to live in Scotland, in the UK. I'm a Scot. I was starting to get interested in crafts, and I was very interested in Scottish history and, you know, how people lived their lives in the past, okay? And in a place in Scotland, in the UK, there's a place called the Kelvingrove Museum, and I originally saw a couple of original 17th century sporrans, okay? Which are radically different from the sporrans you see today, okay? The sporrans you see today are, you know, pretty much a Victorian invention, okay? They're not very historically accurate, right? When you go and look at it originally, sporrans were originally worn by Highlanders who were Gaelic speakers in the north of Scotland, and they wore it with the kilt, okay? And the kilt is not the kilt as you know it today, the modern kilt, which is called the fillinbeg in Gaelic. It was the great kilt, the Brecon fella. My Gaelic pronunciation might be off there, but the great kilt. So this was essentially a very large blanket that was earth tone colour tartan, alright, and it was gathered, pleated at the back and gathered and worn over the shoulder, and essentially it did a few different types of things. The great kilt, it was a blanket you know, it was a kind of like a shelter system. It was actually a kind of camouflage suit, alright, because it was very subdued tones, alright, so it's a form of camouflage, not like modern bright tartans. You know, it was a shelter system, and also it was, you know, clothing protection from the elements, alright. But obviously it didn't have any kind of pockets, there was no type of trouser. Highlanders were mainly went around on foot, alright, because it's a hilly environment, okay, so you know, people went around by foot because you can't really ride a horse up a mountain, okay. So they had to carry the gear somewhere, alright, and mainly it was on the belt, okay. So they would at least have had a dirk, alright, which is a type of dagger, a Scottish type of dagger. They may well have had a ski and do, which was a more of a utility type knife. They may have had a few other different types of weapons, but they certainly would have had a sporran, okay. Your typical Highlander of the 16th, 18th century, okay, just to carry some gear, right. So sporran in Gaelic, the word actually means small purse, okay, and this was used to carry lots of different items, not just money, alright, which obviously it would have been used for, but it would have carried, you know, musket balls, oat cakes, right, you might have some cooked meat in there for a day's travel, okay, and you know, obviously some kind of fire kit. Usually this was usually used by people who lived out in the hills, shepherds, people looking after cattle, you know, herders, drovers, those type of people, right, and they would traditionally worn the kilt, alright. So, you know, essentially it's an outdoor piece of gear. Essentially the modern, closest modern thing to it today is a possibles pouch, okay. So it's basically sort of like a little bit of basic gear that you're going to take out into the hills or the bush or whatever, okay. So to go back to how I got started in this whole sporran thing, is when I lived in the UK, I went to some of the museums and I saw historical examples of these, and I got very interested in them, and I wanted to try and make a sort of modern equivalent, or a modern interpretation, right. Now unfortunately I don't have any 17th century sporrans to show you, alright. I wish I did have one, it would be pretty amazing, but originally, I have to explain, I spent a lot of time studying the original examples, right, but originally the whole thing would have been made from essentially what was buckskin, alright. They used deer hide with the fur off, which either had been brain tanned or possibly bark tanned, hard to tell, okay, and it would have been basically this same configuration, right, but apart from the thread, which seemed to be like a linen thread, the whole thing was buckskin. And here I've used cowhide at the top here, the front bit here and here, but originally this would have been buckskin, and how they used to do it was there'd be several layers laced together to give it the strength, okay, and the same here. And if you look at the originals, you'll see here there's lacing and it's laced together, alright, and even the cord, alright, would have been braided buckskin, alright, or deerskin would be more historically accurate, okay. Sometimes they had little tassels on the end, alright. The buttons usually were an antler. I've never seen a historical example with an antler button. There were usually little knots, okay, that were, you know, like Turk's heads type knots. Sometimes they had little internal pockets inside, okay, which you know, I haven't really done that, but sometimes they did have smaller internal pockets, okay, but very different from what this is a sort of like more modern interpretation using different materials, okay, but the same basic design, alright. So this is sort of like a more modern interpretation, alright. The back was kind of like the same kind of idea. It was two holes and a line like that, just to make a through type thing. They didn't have any D-rings, obviously, okay, and sometimes these were at an angle, they weren't straight, they went at a kind of angle, and nobody's quite sure why they done that. It's a little bit of a mystery, but that was the historical ones. They were entirely made, apart from linen thread, they were entirely made from deer hide, alright. So this is a slightly more modern interpretation, you know, using different materials but maintaining the same function, right. And the beauty of this design, this kind of sporran design, is with a lot of the possible pouches you get that are just made, you know, from cowhide, they're rigid, okay, they're always the same shape. This comes in and out a lot, okay, so you know, you can cram it full of stuff and have like almost, you know, a kilogram bag of sugar in there or something, or you can take it right down to nothing. Okay, it's just a very, very clever design that obviously evolved over hundreds and hundreds of years. Okay, and again, this is just my modern take on it, my modern you know, interpretation, right? You know, which is obviously to do with a lot of different stuff, you know, like interest in leathercraft and history and Scottish history, you know what I mean? But there you go, there's the sporran. It's probably what I'm best well known for in the bushcraft world. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, I've made, I don't know, over 100 of these, so I'm getting pretty good at making them. Every one's a little bit different, I have to say. And I'm always struggling and searching for materials and interesting materials to make them from. I think, yeah, my favourite all time, every one I make I like, everything I make I like, I would use myself. Alright, that's the benchmark for me. If I make something and I don't really like it, I just generally rip it apart and try and recycle the materials. If I like it so much that I would use it myself, then I would give it to somebody else or to sell it to somebody else. But there you go, that's kind of a bit of me, what I do with leather and stuff like that. Like I say, this particular batch is all the same kind of hide, but I'm always changing and using different materials. There you go, the Bushcraft Sporran.